The graduation address gives us all here today an opportunity to hear from a distinguished member of our alumni community, and we are privileged today that the address will be delivered by Mr. Russell Tait. Mr. Tait graduated Bachelor of Science with honours from Monash University and then Master of Science with honours from Macquarie University. He commenced his international career with ExxonMobil in 1981, first in America on the East Coast and then in Alaska, where it fell to him to manage the environmental and natural resources damage arising from the Valdez oil spill. A decade later, he returned to Australia and thereafter travelled extensively, working in up to 80 countries on a worldwide scientific environmental basis. In 2002, he was appointed Chief Environmental Scientist for ExxonMobil. He has worked closely now with government and environmental bodies, most recently in preserving the environment of the Arctic. He was awarded the highly respected Brodie Medal in Chemical Engineering for research on wastewater treatment. He is a technical advisor to the United Nations on World Ocean Assessments. And now, on his return and living in Melbourne, he is, and more in the future will, focus on assisting Monash students in their scientific courses. It's with great pleasure, therefore, that I invite Mr. Russell Tait to deliver this graduation address. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tait.
Thank you. Acting Deputy Chancellor, Honourable Peter Young, Vice President and Deputy Vice Chancellor of Enterprise, Ken Sloan, Dean of the Faculty of Arts, Design and Architecture, Professor Shane Murray, and Dean of the Faculty of Science, Professor Jordan Nash, members of the faculty, parents, families, friends, and our new graduates. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to the elders, past and present. I especially want to express my congratulations to all you new graduates on this, your special day, in recognition and celebration of your achievements. Congratulations, you have earned it. It's an honour for me to address you today. Like you, I am privileged to have studied at Monash University. Just as you have done, I walked across this very stage some 41 years ago and was launched onto my career that I could not have predicted at the time of walking across this stage. I would like to share a little of my journey with you. I grew up in the country of Victoria and was the first of my family to attend university. I undertook honours degree in zoology at Monash here, researching zooplankton in farm dams around Melbourne. A fairly insignificant start, I thought. Over the course of my working life, I've ranged from unexpected experiences and opportunities. After graduating in 1976, I spent 4 years working for government and private industry on water quality and environmental impact assessment. Through my next position, I undertook further study through Macquarie University, this time on the ecology of floodplains in the Northern Territory, so commencing my move around the country and the world. I was able to utilise my day-to-day work and combine it with research to complete my master's degree. It was not until many years after I graduated that I fully appreciated our motto, Ancora Imparo, I am still learning, and I continue to follow that today. Having broadened and deepened my areas of interest, I was offered a position with Esso, which was part of Exxon, and now part of ExxonMobil, to lead environmental assessments and studies of oil shale projects on the central Queensland coast. This began 36 years of my career with ExxonMobil, a global energy company operating in over 200 countries worldwide. During the first 8 years, I led teams of environmental scientists undertaking impact studies of offshore oil and gas, mining, and oil shale development. These studies range from the ecology of plankton to the status of fisheries, from mangrove production and health to wildlife surveys, from archaeology and paleontology to socio-economic assessments and potential impacts of development on communities, from mine site rehabilitation to pollution reduction and treatment, as well as emergency response, something that was very important during the major part of my career. After developing a diverse range of skills, I relocated to the United States on an assignment with a company in our research labs in New Jersey. This was in 1989, just 1 month after the Valdez oil spill in Alaska. An event which regrettably happened and which had an impact on not only the environment, but also on my career and my family. A week after arriving in the US, plans changed for me, and I was asked to help with the response to the cleanup in Alaska. So I rotated to Alaska for the remainder of that summer, 6 months, travelling up there to supervise and manage environmental teams. Following that summer of field programs, my wife and I moved to Alaska full-time for the next 2 years to undertake environmental studies of the spill and the cleanup. I worked on trialling new response technologies, assisted with the impact on communities through subsistence food studies and programs and assessments, and facilitated wildlife rehabilitation programs, and also led some 350 scientists in defining and implementing over 20 environmental damage assessment studies in Prince William Sound. A phenomenal opportunity that came to me. On a personal note, our first child was born 8 weeks after arriving in Alaska, a challenge for my wife and I living in Alaska in the middle of winter. At the same time, when I was almost 2 years into my PhD, undertaking it externally, I came to a hard decision that I had to make. At the time, the work that I was leading became the focus of litigation. I was given a choice to either move out of the role that I was in, supervising a tremendous range of studies, or suspend my PhD. It was a major personal decision, a conflict that I had to resolve. But looking back now, one that I did not regret making. Continuing to work on the effects of the environmental management of the spill and the response with world-renowned scientists was certainly one of the high points of my career. I still have a box of PhD data and references that have followed me around the world since that time, but I'm unlikely to need those in the future. After Alaska, we returned to Australia, where I led environmental studies supporting Esso's operations in Bass Strait and Western Port, areas that I'd done a lot of scuba diving during the time I was at Monash University. I then returned to the US with our expanded family, as our second child was born here while we were back in Melbourne. Assignments followed on energy development in the former Soviet Union, particularly in the Arctic and the Caspian Sea, and there were challenges scientifically, culturally, and linguistically dealing with former Soviet Union. Another personal highlight came through working with a range of environmental scientists, government staff and communities in Greenland. Many of the studies related to the ecology of the area and its current and future responses to climate change and how this must be considered in any future development scenario, particularly in the socio-economic field. These, along with other studies on the effects of sound on marine life, especially whales and dolphins, dominated the latter part of my career. The last 5 years of which I served as Chief Environmental Scientist for ExxonMobil worldwide, a position which afforded me the opportunity to have significant influence on the company and interactions with government and communities around the world. Who would have predicted that the skills and knowledge gained through studies at Monash on microscopic zooplankton could be applied to the studies of whales off the coast of Australia, Greenland, Canada, and the US, and to the major environmental and social challenges of today. I would like to again thank all lecturers and staff at Monash who prepared us well for our journeys. I have finished part of mine, you are starting yours. When I reflect on my experiences and opportunities, I'd like to offer some thoughts which may help you as you go forward. These have in part guided me during my career and relate to identifying and managing risk and change, seeking out mentors to gain greater knowledge and insights, utilising the value of teams in tackling complex problems, and finally, recognising the importance of personal qualities. In today's world, certainty is not guaranteed, and you will find risk is a key element of all your activities. How to identify, assess, manage risk, whether financial, structural, personal, or environmental, we all need to be attuned to identifying, evaluating, and managing such risks. It is not easy, but the skills in research and study that you have gained here at Monash will assist you well in that. Secondly, seek out mentors whenever you can. No matter what level of experience or skill you have achieved, you will always benefit from mentors. Their perspective and experience may provide sound advice at a time when it is needed. You have created a network of contacts here at Monash who are only too willing to help you on that course. Professional associations and institutions are also another avenue to expand these relationships and are only too keen to impart knowledge and help you guide you through your careers. Teams are often far more productive than individuals. I've found this a major resource as I've worked many of the opportunities that I have during the years. So work in and facilitate them when appropriate. Recognise the strategic importance of teams, especially multidisciplinary teams, for approaching complex problems. Communicate your thoughts clearly and ensure you are heard and understood in order to have the greatest impact. You will encounter change in many forms during your life, but I believe the most critical global challenge facing us today is climate change. Migration, food and freshwater availability, energy supply, extreme weather events, coastal threats and sustainability are some of the risks that will come from climate change. These will have significant impacts on all our lives. Science, innovation, and most importantly, the will to act are critical to understanding and implementing meaningful responses. Lastly, ethics, honesty, civility, and resilience are all important personal qualities that will support you in your endeavours. Develop and strengthen these as they are important to building and maintaining relationships, earning credibility and reputation. I hope you can draw on some of my experiences as they may help you in the next phase of your life. You are part of Monash family, and Monash will always be part of you. I wish you all the best and a successful future, and again congratulate you on your graduation day. Finally, in the release of his recent publication after his death, Professor Stephen Hawking urged young people the following: look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. It matters that you don't give up. Unleash your imagination. Shape the future. Deputy Chancellor, thank you.
Thank you, Russell. That was truly informative, provoking. What a life story, what a work history. For students graduating, be it doctorate, masters or bachelors, their life in front will take many turns, and clearly they must be up for the challenge. To see the way your life developed from your bachelor and then honours degrees in Australia, to travel the world, to have that position, that responsibility, to control so much of reparation of environment, to emphasise climate change. It's a truly unique position that you have enjoyed. I hope a lot of lessons come out of that, and students are prepared to accept the challenge, go where the challenge is, and work to create their own life and to give back to society. So many lessons that you gave in that speech could be remembered by all. It was a magnificent address. Thank you, Russell.